So this is my last week. In fact, it's my second and last day here in Shanghai. And this week was a pretty good week. We got back from Shenzhen, which was a great tournament at Vango down there. It's a ginormous club. They have two locations there, and they're both like warehouses, but they get a lot of help from the government with very inexpensive rent. I would say it's very inexpensive, so they can afford a lot. And they have just a million people there. Anyway, still kind of chatting with some of the people that I met there, and I'm really happy I went, and I got to meet some really cool people. Had the day off Monday, went to Taobao, which is the flea market, and I bought a couple of things that I'm going to bring home for the kids, and it was kind of fun, a little bartering. I bought myself a birthday present. Thursday was my birthday, my son's birthday as well. So on that day, we also went to Beijing Duck, which my boss bought for a bunch of people and senior staff. And I gotta say, I think the atmosphere around the club is a lot more warmer, not so defensive as it used to be. People are a little bit freer to feel more comfortable coming in. And I think that I like to say I helped make that atmosphere. I certainly do want people to like coming to work and not feel tense about it. Had a tournament today. My first tournament that I organized. It's all for youth events. We had foil, grades 1 through 4 and 5 through 8. And we had saber, grades only 1 through 4, and epee, grades 9 through 12. I don't know where those areas came up from, but that's what was given to me. So that's the tournament we had. They kind of made it up to this big NCAA style format. I wanted to do that because every bout starts at 0-0, so every bout's important as opposed to a relay where you pick up from the score of the bout before. Really, the last couple of bouts are what really changes the match. But with the NCAA format, you don't know which bout is going to matter because every 5-touch bout is separate from the others, not attached by relay. We did not do the entire format in that we stopped when one team had won 5 bouts. We had 6 foil group A, which is the older kids, 7 in the younger foil group, 6 in the saber, young saber, and we had 6 and one of the teams dropped out, so we had 5 in the epee. I have to say this accidentally worked out perfectly timing-wise. We were supposed to be done with pools before lunch, and that didn't happen with foil A. For some reason, it just took forever. So we only had 5 matches left at lunch. We just said, we're stopping for lunch. So we stopped at 12:30, started back about 1:15 or so, and finished the 5 matches. But Coach Chen, who, by the way, did a lot of things for this tournament, which I'm eternally grateful for, kept things moving along because saber was finished. So he started running the saber, and then epee was finished. So then he ran the epee final. I'm talking about the final, the gold medal match, which was held on the raised strip. And then foil B was finished, and then finally, when we got around to foil A, all the other finals have been done. So he was great about kind of moving things along. The plan was that we were going to wait and do one final after another. But in retrospect, looking back, that would have taken forever. So the way it went now with the finals happening as they came up worked out perfectly. Time-wise, we figured around 4 or 5, and we were like 4:30 when we were finished with the foil matches. Afterward, we had a great big party, and there was live music and a DJ, and then one of the kids, it was birthday that day, so it was a little birthday cake, and so it was a lot of fun. There were a lot of tears because they were kids, a lot of parents freaking out because their kids are crying, but all in all, and there was one squabble with one of the coaches who is Iranian, I believe, but he used to coach in Canada, and now he's in Shanghai. But man, what's a tournament without a little squabble? It all worked out in the end. And I think it worked out better for him. What he was asking for, I think, would have been a lot worse than what we made him do. So, um, Coach Chen, by the way, going back to him, 10 o'clock at night on Friday, we had 4 referees of our 9 say they're not coming. And the reason why? They didn't want to wear a suit. They said they didn't have one. I said, well, just wear a shirt and tie. You don't have to wear a suit. They didn't want to do that. So we cut them loose. And there's the tournament called the Shanghai Championships happening the same weekend as our tournament today. I just got back from it and about to have some dinner. Yeah. So we cut them loose. We said, forget these guys. We'll get some other people. And Coach Chen came up, and Amy, our epic coach, both Chinese, came up with another group of people. We ended up actually having one more than we did before those 4 guys quit on us. So the crew that showed up was just fantastic. They were well dressed. They were professional. They were fun for the kids in the tournaments. And I know fencing can get a little tedious with children, but a couple of guys started rolling their eyes, but then they started pulling it together and having more fun with it. And the kids are so cute. Some of them are just tiny little things that are just trying to run around and hold their mask on their head at the same time. And so I think it was a lot of fun. They really liked the team event. They really liked that 5 touches mattered every time somebody hooked up. And some of them just don't do very much team. There's no like high school league and there's no school league. So this tournament was supposed to help establish a platform for schools to compete with each other on a regular basis. So there would be basically 3 tournaments in Shanghai. One ours in the fall. Wellington wants to run at somewhere in March, end of March. And then there's one at YK which is in June. So that would be cool, and then at the end you just see who won. But it was all team, no individual events. And I thought it went really well. So, and I had great promotion guys. Ricky, my translator / assistant. I'm calling her my assistant because she really does everything for me. Danielle was just fantastic. Caitlin and Yvette, who were hosting the whole thing, and she charged nothing for entry fees. I don't understand, but everyone had a great time, and I don't know what the turnout would have been if we had charged something. So I'm about to go back to the States day after tomorrow, and what have I done here? I've been here 6 weeks roughly, and one of my goals was to add 200 more members to the club. I'm not quite sure I made that, but I don't know how many more there are because I actually haven't looked, but I didn't get the feeling that there was a big rush of people coming in. So I'm not sure if I had that goal. I had another goal to be involved with 3 more schools before I left, and we're with SUIS. Oh, I did that. I got 3 schools. So that goal is accomplished. I set up a safety protocol for the fencing club area. I have banned parents from being in the fencing area while fencing is going on because their parents were very literally hands on their kids during lessons and group lesson. And I just said, Mom, go sit down. We have a glass wall. Sit down behind the glass wall, relax, watch. I believe they're very well-intended parents. They think that's how they should be parenting, I think. For me, I want the kid to learn, make mistakes, fix it, and remember. But everybody has been so cool about, I ask them to go behind the wall. They go, oh, okay. Absolutely no squabbling about it whatsoever. I ask parents to, let the kids carry their own bags, depending on how old they are. And most of them are like, yeah, you should be carrying my bag. They're very surprisingly adaptive. I know there's some parents who say, well, that's not the Chinese way, but they know certain things about the Chinese way isn't always the best way. So they're very willing to make these changes in order to do the best way. And what they didn't have was somebody who is trying to suggest the best way. And I'm coming from the outside, So somehow I have more credibility because I'm not Chinese and coming from the system, and trying to make changes. I'm trying to adjust things to the way I know work back in the U.S. So I get the luxury of picking both the Chinese ways that are good and the American ways that are good, and trying to blend them together to make this a unique kind of club. Um, the parents are great. There's a couple of people, parents are uh, not as great, not as receptive to change, but for the most part, most of them are not only receptive to change, but they're extremely helpful, and they're extremely supportive of the things I'm trying to do. They see the club needs direction, and they're totally willing to accept a direction, any direction, as long as it's kind of upward, even if it has to go sideways for a little bit. And I really enjoyed working with them and meeting the kids, and watching them compete is always fun. And it still kills me when there's priority, when the bout's tied at the end of time. First of all, Chinese fence for only 2 minutes in a five-touch bout, not three. And the priority is determined by rock, paper, scissors. It cracks me up. These kids, all of a sudden, they stop, took the mask off. 1, 2, 3, shoot. That's how they determine priority. I mean, why not? But at least you have some control over what's going on in priority instead of it being totally random. I think the club has great potential. They're targeting international Chinese students, and there are a lot of them out there. Almost every private school is full of either Chinese who speak perfect English, Americans who are Chinese, French who are Chinese, Australians, British, Singapore. There's a lot of Singapore, Malaysian, all going to these private schools, and they feel like fencing is good for their kids as a sport, possibly help them into university in the U.S., and they like the atmosphere of fencing. It's still a gentleman's sport for the most part, and that manners count. You are required to salute and shake hands after every bout, win or lose. And they like that. They like seeing the kids behave in a orderly and sportsmanlike manner. And sportsmanship is still pretty big, important part of fencing. So this tournament, going back to that, was a huge media event. The reason why I just remembered it now is because I got interviewed and they said, what are the benefits of fencing? And I mentioned the sportsmanship aspect of it, and I mentioned that it might help them get into university because their chances of being noticed as a fencer are greater than if they were to play basketball or football or baseball. There's a lot of guys and girls who do that, softball, but there's not as many. There's still a lot. There's not as many. And I also encourage them to compete in the U.S., to get noticed, to be seen, to see people, to meet coaches, to see how the system works. And they are very, very interested in that. And there are some businesses out there that do just that. And I got to talk to my buddy Jimmy Jong in Korea on how he works. His business is very similar, if not exactly that. And he's extremely successful at it. He does a really good job with his people, and it's a good role model for me to have. I'm lucky to have met him. Anyway, I have about 48 hours left here in Shanghai. I have the day off tomorrow. I'm going to spend most of it packing. I might go to the gym one last time if I wake up, depending, because it's only 10 after 10 now, but I've been up since 4 a.m. to get to this tournament, which is over an hour away. And I'm finding out finally that Uber is cheaper than a taxi. I also found out somebody told me Uber was banned in China, but nobody seems to have a problem using it. So anyway, I'm going to be back in the States. I'll see you there. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed my time here in Shanghai and in China. And my next time back will be after the first of the year, January, until Chinese New Year in February. And then I'll be over in JO's in Cleveland. From Cleveland, I'll go back to Shanghai. Thanks a lot, and have a good night. We'll see you back in the States in 2 days.